And we're back with GMT. Um, this is a video that has been more or less. I've not more or less. I promised I was going to do this before WrestleMania season. So, I felt inspired to do it now. It's like I don't know. Uh, it's like 12:22 in the morning where I'm at. Um, but what I want to do today is kind of just talk about the state of WWE, WrestleMania, what I want, what I want to see in the future, what I don't like. Uh, it's just going to be a conversation piece today. Um, so first of all, let me talk about WWE. I've been a fan for WWE for for a very, very, very long time. Um, it's like it's my main promotion. Don't get me wrong. I know there's other promotions out there. We got Ring of Honor, TNA, AEW, just to name a few of those. And sporadically, I don't have cable. But sporadically when I can catch like other wrestling indie matches that catch my eye, I'll watch them. But WWE has like been my first wrestling love, so I primarily watch that. Uh, but it's not to say that other wrestling companies like New Japan and other stuff, other wrestling companies as a whole does not exist. I mean, they very much exist and they very much have a lot more top tier matches than WWE does. But that to say, again, I just grew up with WWE. That being said, excuse me, what the state of WWE right now for me is I'm a bit indifferent because I know it can be better. I've seen it be better. Uh, and I just want the best for a lot of things that people love, and it's like I think that's like unanimous across the board for a lot of things that people just love. Uh, Now, first and foremost, one of the things that last year was very hard for me, and I think for a lot of fans, because I am a huge fan of John Cena. Uh, I've been a fan of John Cena since he's debuted because it was like, you know, I know a lot of people will say you can't say that because you don't know like where he would have gone or anything of that nature. I was a fan because it was like, don't get me wrong, he wasn't like at the time he wasn't like that top echelon wrestler for me because again he was just starting. The Rock was my guy, um, so and Rock still is one of my guys that I am a huge fan of. But when John Cena versus Dave debuted against that match against Kurt Angle, um, that was such a good match for me I think I was like 12, and it was like one of those things where I was like, yo, this match is so good. I am really appreciating this consistent back and forth and everything that it gave. And, he was somebody for me even then to like, all right, I'm gonna be on the lookout for this guy because I am invested. So when he retired last year, I knew it was coming. I knew he was going to lose that last match. I know a lot of people did not want him to lose that last match. I believe he hinted for years that he was going to go out, looking at the lights. That's just the type of wrestler he was, and it was like I love the match through and through. I know some people don't like the smile, the tap out. That to me that was just somebody saying, "Okay, I'm done." This was for him. And it was equally, we got a chance to say goodbye. I'm excited to know that he is going to be there for WrestleMania, which I am going to harp on that when I get to that part of this video. Um, but yeah, so 2025, I was happy to be able to go there live to see him perform for my very first time. Now, discussing that, going to see John Cena live, and especially in today's like situation of the world and how things are like so expensive, like and how everything is just going up. It hit your pockets. Like, it's something I wanted to do. I wanted to have my wife also equally see him perform so she can try to see what I saw since it was like he's like a wrestling superhero for everybody. So it was like one of those things. It was just like, yeah, no, this is this is goodbye, for him wrestling at least. And we got a chance to go. We loved the entire event, and but the ticket prices, and I knew for a John Cena show the ticket prices would be insane. But to see how we've gotten to a state to where ticket prices for WWE are, it's like you have to be rich to go. And, you know, I was looking at some prices before, they started doing all these percentages off because people just can't afford to go. Uh, I was like, this is practically a Super Bowl ticket, and I'm gonna be wrong, I know Super Bowl tickets are a lot more expensive, but this is like effectively damn near a Super Bowl, and I get it for WrestleMania tickets, you know, that is WWE Super Bowl, but it's like hate him or love him, but one of the things that Vince McMahon always wanted, he wanted people, families, to be able to come to the show. And TKO, in my opinion, has kind of obliterated that. And I find it interesting, which has been the most interesting part of this whole storyline of WWE versus TKO, is that is one of those things that is being addressed. CM Punk just did a pipe bomb promo talking about this. And I've always wanted to go to WrestleMania. Sadly, I have not been the one. And this year would probably been the one chance that I could have gone. But life is lifing for me right now. Like and it's and in some of the best ways. Like I'm about to have my first child. And me and my wife are overly excited. So it's one of those things where it's just like, maybe I'll get to take my child to see a WrestleMania one day. Uh, it's on the bucket list. It's something I intend to do. Uh, but yeah, it's just one of those things to where I it's very troubling seeing ticket prices as high as they are, and it doesn't help the product, in my opinion. It just doesn't help it at all, and I think the move to TKO, I haven't really had a full on opinion of it yet. But right now, it's just it has its positives and it has its negatives. You don't, and it's like it's unsettling not to know the future of something you love to watch. I don't miss a Monday Night Raw. Unfortunately for SmackDown, I catch it when I can because I'm out and about. For those who don't know, I'm equally a big time Yu-Gi-Oh player. So I'm like every Friday I try to hit tournaments. Or if I'm not doing that, I'm doing something else preparing for my child to get here. So Fridays is a little bit more hectic, but the one thing I am doing is I'm looking up the news. I'm looking at the clips. I'm making sure I'm up to date because I can tell you everything that's currently going on SmackDown. It's just I don't always get to watch it. And that's the same with NXT. It's like it's on a Tuesday, and it's just like okay, but I try to catch NXT whenever I can, or at least catch the clips, so I know what's going on. So yeah, ticket prices for WWE being as obscene as they are is it's not okay. It's just not okay. So I hope after this WrestleMania, and I'm sure again, I know there's already a storyline of them turning this into something like F4 Survivor Series. It looks like, uh, but I really hope that TKO is learning from this. That this is just something you can't you can't do that. And I see the glare on my glasses. You guys caught me a little disheveled today because I just again felt inspired to do this. Um, but yeah, you can't do this. It sucks because people love WWE, and for those who are fans, they want to see this, but some fans really can't afford this either. So I hope this is an eye opener because they're gonna find a way to sell out Vegas for this WrestleMania. I I honestly just feel like they're gonna have their own people try to fill the seats, or the tickets are gonna go so low that you can. And like this whole thing of them blocking out certain areas where people can't do watch parties, I think that's equally stupid because it's like, again, you why would you do that? It's like you're hindering people from watching this, and it because people are going to find a way. WWE, people are going to find a way. One of my lights went out. People are going to find a way to watch your show because again, people love this, but at the same time, you TKO, you can't. What you're doing is just not the way. It's like I understand you know a product and you know what your product is worth, but at the same time, you. I feel like you will make your money back just by allowing people to make the tickets so affordable for people can go. Ain't nobody telling you to sell the tickets for $1, but if you make it to where people can afford to go, they will come. That is a guarantee, and it's been proven. It's been a proven method, and and that's pretty much what I'm gonna say on the TKO matter. It's probably not much. It's probably not as in depth as people probably want me to go into it, but that's just my feelings towards it. It's probably super simple, but it's just how I feel about the matter. Um, Now going into storylines, WrestleMania, what I want to see. Um, Storyline wise, all right. What I'm gonna do is let me pull up the WrestleMania card real fast, and we'll go from there because they recently dropped the like which matches are on what night, and I already had opinions on why. You know, um, so yeah, let's look at this real quick. So, all right, night one, we have the Vision and ISO Speed. I'm sorry, versus the Usos and LA Knight. So, here's my first issue. Um, Not issue. I'm sorry. That match, I totally get why that's on night one. It's a quick. I think that's something to get people entertained, get people ready, get people like you know ready to go into WrestleMania. Did I want more for LA Knight, the Usos for WrestleMania? I did because it's the Usos and it's LA Knight. So, um, first of all, the Vision. Let me harp on that first. The Vision is cursed, and I think we've all said it. The Vision is just outstandingly cursed right now because the thing with the Vision. Have you heard of that saying? You shouldn't play with crutches, or something was going to happen. And I know it's a superstition, but pretty much they played with crutches because the whole injury angle Seth Rollins did, um, and now every big time member of the Vision is effectively injured, uh, and that put the Vision in such a bad situation. Because we could have got Braun Breaker versus Seth Rollins, like we were supposed to. We could have gotten Bronson Reed versus Seth Rollins, which was a good pivot because both Bronson Reed and I just said his name, Braun Breaker are injured, and it don't play with crutches, y'all. If it's as simple as that, and hope for a speedy recovery to both Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. But yeah, I feel like any of those matches with Seth Rollins would have been bangers. We've seen Bronson Reed versus Rollins before, and it was outstanding. I believe we've seen Breaker versus Rollins before. I can't fully remember, but any of those matches would have been outstanding. Those guys are truthfully up there to be futures of the company. Um, but harping on what we have left of the Vision, I'm not a fan of Austin Theory. I know he's been he was very good in the Indies. In WWE, he is just not. He hasn't spoken to me yet, and it was just like I feel like we put him as a heel. I He wasn't gravitating when Vince was trying to over push him. It wasn't helping then. It never really ever helps when Vince is over pushing people. And then it was just like, okay, we put him with Grayson Waller, which I did think was a great tag team, but it was like WWE had to put stuff behind them to make them an even better tag team, and it just didn't happen. They fell flat, and they were just out there being like a comedy gag. We had the whole thing of Kevin Owens, said I could punch both of them in the face at the same time, which was funny, and he did. And again, they just didn't do anything with him, and I believe Austin Theory got hurt. He came back. He was the masked man at one point, and he joined the Vision, and I still feel like he hasn't done anything. He got a tag title, yeah, great. But between him and Logan Paul, and I'm not a fan of Logan Paul at all, but I cannot deny that man has put in the work in that ring. But yeah, it's like Logan Paul is the star of that tag team, and it seeing Austin Theory and Logan Paul as the tag champions. I hope we can get like some good feuds out of them with those titles before they inevitably revert back to the Usos. Because I will admit, when Jay and Jimmy had them, they weren't doing anything with them because they're just not doing anything with the tag division right now. In my opinion, it's like we had a great tag division when we had DIY, Motor City Machine Guns, uh, we had Street Profits, the Wyatt Six, and all of that, the MITs. Yeah, when we had yeah, I think it's MITs, Solo Sokoa's group, uh, MFTs. That's MITs, MFTs. But yeah, when we had them, I think we had a pretty solid tag division. And when we're on Raw, we still have a solid tag division, but they're not doing anything with it. We had New Day. Xavier Woods is now injured. Kofi's by himself, and like Grayson Waller is only a part of that group for a comedy gag, but he's not part of the group. Uh, so yeah, so right now the Vision and the Usos are the tag division, in my opinion. There, so I hope they, as Logan Paul and Austin Theory hold these titles, we see more of it. But going into like the next group, which is the Usos, we don't know. It looks like we're getting Bloodline again, and if we get Bloodline again, great. But it's a rinse and repeat. But great. I mean, the Bloodline was a great storyline. I didn't like how the Bloodline started out in the beginning, like a few years back, because Roman versus Jay to me was boring. I know people was like, "This is great." I was like, I didn't like it, but it grew. So I appreciate that it grew into a better story. Uh, but yeah, we need to. They need to figure out if they want Jimmy and Jay as single competitors, or they want them as a tag team, or they want Jay to go heel and Jimmy to get a singles title finally. They need to figure this out. And LA Knight should have been had like a world title. It just should have happened. And because of all these injuries, I'm sure if we got Breaker versus Seth, we would have got Bronson Reed versus LA Knight at Mania. And that it happens. People get injured. Again, don't play with your crutches, y'all. Um, so now we got I Show Speed shoehorned in to this whole WWE thing, and we got this 6-man tag. So I really hope that we figure out what's going on with the Usos in the future, and I really LA Knight is my choice for the men's Money in the Bank this year. Uh, I feel like he's been my choice for the last 2 years, to be honest with you, because he just deserves to get the title. Like, let's see what happens with him holding the title. Um, so I think the Vision versus the Usos and LA Knight would be a good, entertaining match starting us off for night one. Uh, Next match will be Jacob Fatu versus Drew McIntyre in an unsanctioned match, and this is part of the first hour, by the way, y'all. That's going to be free on ESPN. Um, Speaking of that ESPN thing, total sidebar, real quick. I'm not a fan. I would have preferred, and I get why WWE transitioned to ESPN because that's where a lot of TKO stuff is. I would have preferred them stay on Peacock personally because the commercials, everything, and don't get me wrong, ESPN is trying to work around that stuff, but a lot of the things that they do and what the workarounds we had to get to the ESPN Plus, it's just unnecessary. Streaming services have become cable, and yeah, I would prefer they get a WWE network back. I think the WWE network was the best thing. I miss it terribly. So yeah, but anywho, going back to the next match, which is Jacob Fatu versus Drew McIntyre. Uh, I think this is going to be a fantastic match. I just hope because it's on the free hour that they don't boggle it down to make it more PG. Um, but if they don't, this should be a very intense, hard hitting match. And I hope it does honestly go for 30 minutes. Uh, But yeah, like if you don't know the story, Jacob Fatu, I believe it was last year, got attacked, and we don't know who the attacker was, but he was out on the shelf, and Drew went on feuding with Cody Rhodes for the WWE title. When Jacob Fatu would return, he would attack Drew, and because it was a steel cage match, Jacob threw Drew out of the cage, and Drew won the title. So now, because Jacob Fatu thinks Drew was the one who attacked him behind the stage, and Drew is denying it all the time, but they've gotten to a point where Drew and Jacob just keep beating the crap out of each other every week. So now we're in this unsanctioned match. Now I'm gonna talk about like before. I'm gonna talk about each one individually. Jacob, I want to see on Raw personally. I know why he's on SmackDown. I want to see him on Raw. Uh, at the same time, Jacob, I want to see as a champion. I'm ready to see because I know he had the United States Championship, and they took that off of him. And I forgot who beat him for that title, but I think it was Solo. Yeah, it was Solo who beat him for that title. Uh, but yeah, I want to see Jacob as a champion sooner rather than later because Jacob. But I also want them to go back making Jacob like this dangerous dude because when Jacob first hit the scene, it was like, hey yo, like this man is built different, you know. Like people will be hitting finishers galore, and he would just get back up, and that was phenomenal for this guy. So I hope we keep up with this. Like I hope if Drew does take the win, which I don't think he will, Saturday. I want to see Drew have to use at least 5 claymores, you know, just to keep Jacob somewhat down. Uh, but yeah, no, Jacob, I want to see a world champion sooner rather than later, and I hope by the latter end of 2026, Jacob is either a world heavyweight champion or a WWE world champion. Uh, I have him. I have a suspicion that he will be in the Money in the Bank ladder match. I don't think he will win it. I'm still putting that a lot on LA Knight to win it because LA Knight is still hyper over. And I think it's time to just like if you're willing to try it with Jay Uso, who I don't think was this is just my opinion. I was not a fan of his championship run. He's him and his brother still come off as mid Carters and tag team players to me. Uh, so it's just one of those things where I was like, I wasn't feeling the heavyweight reign of Jay. But we got it, and if you could do that, you could do that with LA Knight and other people. So let's get it done. So going back to Jacob here, um, yeah, I think by the latter end of 2026, we will see Jacob Fatu as a champion somewhere, and not a mid card champion, but as a champion. Um, Drew, who I'm gonna be real with y'all. I was okay with Drew going into Mania as champion, and I think he should have gone into Mania as champion. And we just would have had a 4-way fatal match of Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, Jacob Fatu, possibly Aleister Black and there's like a 5-way fatal. And we just had that for the world. And Sami Zayn, we had a 6-way for the World Heavyweight Championship, and I would have been entertained by that actually. Uh, but we kind of simplified it, and I get why we simplified it because you got when you have racks of injuries, you got to kind of put people in places, and it just to make things fit. So it made sense why they did what they did here. Should Jacob Fatu versus Drew McIntyre be on the night one? I think it's okay. Uh, but Drew, like I was saying before, I'm all over the place, and apologies for that. I do think Drew should have been. Um, he should have gone into Mania as champion because all Drew wanted. Because when he had his first few title reigns, it was peak pandemic, and now that he's had some with fans as a heel, is like I like Drew. I've always been a fan of Drew McIntyre, so I'm happy he got a chance to run the title again. Because after I feel like 2 years of them just dangling in his face, like, hey, here's the title, and we just snatch it from him, has been it's been getting old. Uh, so yeah, I look forward to it, and I hope Drew gets. I don't think Drew will get the title back at all this year for the rest of the year. Personally, I think he's just going to be involved in more bigger and greater feuds going through. So I do hope by the beginning of 20. Drew is another person I want to see back on Raw, honestly. Um, so I do think going into the future, uh, we will see probably maybe in 2027 Drew will have the title again, but we'll see. How they like to dangle that carrot, it might not be to 2029 Drew gets that title back. I ain't gonna hold y'all, but we'll see. Um, Now, this one might be a lengthy one because I'm really looking forward to this match. Um, the third match on night one, which I do, this is the first match on the WrestleMania card where I'm like, I don't think the placement should be on night one. I think it's a night two thing, but at the same time, I get it. You need to have things everywhere so each night feels special. Um, and given to the title itself, I understand why it's also a night one thing, but I think the feud has been great. I've been enjoying it. And that match is Stephanie Vaquer and Liv Morgan. I am a big fan of both. I so for those who don't know, I've been enjoying the women's wrestling a lot more than the guys for years now because it's just been more entertaining. So and I'm happy that the women continue to do their thing. Uh, been a fan of Stephanie Vaquer. Now I can't say I've been following her since her Indies situation, but I have gone back and watched a lot of her old matches. I did watch her AEW match with Mercedes Moné, aka Sasha Banks. And I watched majority of all her matches on NXT. So I'm her and Julia. I am big fans of, and I'll harp on the Julia situation a little bit later. But Stephanie Vaquer and Liv Morgan's rivalry has been great. I do think, and I will talk about Liv Morgan shortly. I do think Stephanie Vaquer should win this match. 150 billion% Liv Morgan should not win. And I'll explain why right now. Going over, Stephanie is like the fastest rising superstar in, as far as the women is concerned, in WWE currently. Like in NXT, she managed to do what no woman has done before. She got the she held the North American title and the women's title at the same time, and then lost. She vacated the North American title and she lost the NXT Women's Championship to JC Jane, and then she moved up to the main roster. As soon as she got into the main roster, she was a sensational fan favorite, and the more and more we see her, the more and more I'm more of a fan. And her versus Io Sky on WrestlePalooza was damn near the best match. It was the best match of the night. Like, don't get me wrong, CM Punk, AJ Lee versus Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins was a close second for me, but it did not touch Stephanie Vaquer versus Io Sky. It just didn't touch them. They held it down, and Stephanie got the title. That was Stephanie's first true challenge. And when you're a first time champion, everybody says your first reign is kind of your worst reign because you're learning who you are as a champion and like how to how things work for you. Um, and I feel like Stephanie's second rivalry, which was Nikki Bella, I'm a Bella Twins fan, but I don't think Nikki Bella should have gotten a title shot for that title at all. I'm like, look, Nikki hasn't done anything to get that title. I guess you could say she has the prestige. She's been there long enough to earn that. And I was like, no, Stephanie versus Nikki wasn't to me a great feud. It was just like, okay, it's a stepping stone feud. It's like to move on to the next level. And Stephanie beat Nikki. Nikki really, in my opinion, I don't recall her winning any matches since she's been back. But they did have some good matches. I won't say they didn't, but it was just like the feud itself. I was like, all right, I get it. I get what you're doing. We need Stephanie to do something, so at least she's in matches. And I can't say the same for SmackDown's Women's Champion. And I'll harp on that when we get there. Uh, but yeah, Stephanie, and then she feuded with Raquel Rodriguez, and again, Raquel. I think Raquel versus Stephanie was it helped Raquel more than it helped Stephanie, because we needed to build Raquel as a monster, and we needed to build Raquel eventually as a single star. Because at this point, Raquel has been joined at the hip with a tag partner, and it's mainly been Liv Morgan, or now and Roxanne Perez, or I don't know if you guys remember Aaliyah. It was with her. Like Raquel Rodriguez has always been paired with somebody, and we need to build Raquel Rodriguez as a dominant force. And I feel like her feud with Stephanie Vaquer did that, because they went at it like 4 or 5 different times, and Stephanie has beaten her each time. And and to see that Stephanie had to bring out different finishers to beat her, it was like, no, this feud does more for her than anybody else. For Stephanie Vaquer, I mean, not Stephanie Vaquer, I'm sorry, for Raquel Rodriguez than anybody else. I feel like that feud elevated Raquel Rodriguez more than Stephanie. And I do think when Liv Morgan won the Royal Rumble, which I think was the correct choice, uh, the problem with Liv Morgan winning, and don't get me wrong, Liv will get the title back. Liv, it was the first true challenge for Stephanie to make Stephanie look like this credible champion. Um, and that's why, in my opinion, Liv Morgan should not win. This needs to be elevating Stephanie more than Liv, because Liv is there. Liv has made it. Liv's a made woman, in my opinion. Uh, Stephanie needs to beat Liv Morgan, and I do think Liv Morgan will win the Women's Money in the Bank and cash in on Stephanie to win the title. But until then, I think Stephanie needs to hold that title throughout Money in the Bank, possibly SummerSlam. To be honest with you, and we need to just grow on better feuds for Stephanie, because I think Liv Morgan is the first true test. After that test, I think depending on whatever happens with Becky Lynch or AJ, we move over to Becky Lynch, or who else is on Raw currently for the woman? Um, Actually, the next one, the next minor feud, depending, I think Becky Lynch is endgame. So I would put Becky Lynch at the end. So, hmm, thinking. So, because technically, technically, Rhea is on SmackDown now, even though she's still a Raw superstar. She's going full on SmackDown soon because they need her over on SmackDown. Um, Honestly, for I would honestly do Bailey or Lyra for Stephanie's next opponent. I would try that feud, and then I would move on down. I would honestly make the SummerSlam card Stephanie versus Becky, and then I would just have Liv cash in there, and then that's how Liv gets the title back. And that, I think that's a perfect full blown story, because we've already given like Stephanie some credible threats in between and good feuds. So yeah, I think we need to have Liv Morgan be the first credible threat, and then we go keep going tiers. I think Bailey should be the second after Lyra going for it, and then Becky at SummerSlam, and then you just after we have that match, let Liv Morgan cash in on Stephanie and win the title, and that way we have a Liv Morgan title reign again. Now that's how I would book it personally. But again, that's just me. I still do think Stephanie is winning, totally winning this feud. This feud has been phenomenal. Uh, it's gotten personal. It's gotten it's gotten every making of like, yo, this is a great feud. I am loving every moment of it. And going on to Liv, I've been a fan of Liv for a very long time now too. I really liked the Riot Squad as a whole when they first debuted. Uh, so it was like I liked all the members there, and I wish that they got more push than they did. Uh, but Liv Morgan has come into her own since being separated from that group, because they all went their separate ways. Like Sarah Logan, I believe, still works at WWE, but I know she's married to one of the Viking Raiders or War Raiders now. And I think she's about to have another kid or had another kid. So best of wishes to her. Uh, but yeah, and Ruby Soho, who is on AEW now, had her kid and her husband. or they're happy. So it looks like they're happy. So best wishes to them as well. But Liv has come into her own, and Liv has become a champion that you want to root for. Um, so seeing Liv again, Liv has been in every Royal Rumble since we started doing Royal Rumbles for the women, and she's always made it to the end and never won. Well, not always made it to the end, but in recent years she's made it to the end and there's never won. So the fact that she won this one was very exciting, and her feud with Rhea Ripley, in my opinion, I really enjoyed that feud, and I was not rooting for Rhea because I don't think Rhea was in the right to win. For those who were not following the Rhea Liv Morgan feud, Rhea separated Liv Morgan's shoulder after she turned on her when there was a tag team. And when Liv returned the first day, it was on site. Liv would attack Rhea and all this other stuff. And ultimately, Liv said Liv Morgan revenge tour. And she took Rhea's man and kept going. And I'm like, I appreciated Dom with Rhea. I also equally appreciate Dom with Liv. Um, so, but I think I like Dom and Liv a little bit more. So if they ever are separated from the Judgment Day, I don't think Liv and Dom should be separated. Um, so yeah, like Liv has done everything. Like she deserves to be a champion. I just don't think right now. I think right now is about building a newer talent. I don't think WWE should forget Liv Morgan in the shuffle. I just think it's like, hey, we need you to help build Stephanie because Stephanie is going to be one of our future talents. We need to make sure, she looks credible. We need to make sure she looks like a champion. So when the title eventually inevitably goes back to her one day, even heel or not, people see her as like, nah, I remember her first reign, because we remember Liv Morgan's first reign and people didn't like that. And it was just like, okay, so it's like learning from from like past failures of what not to do and what can we do. Um, so yeah, I think this match is going to be phenomenal. I think both superstars are both deserving to be champion. But yeah, I look forward to everything, and I do think again, Liv Morgan should be in the Women's Money in the Bank. I think she will ultimately have to feud with Raquel Rodriguez when she gets the title inevitably, but I think that's going to be after SummerSlam, and I think Raquel will beat Liv for the title. Because I don't think Liv Morgan's next championship run will be a long one. Because I think it's meant to also. I think Liv will get the title regardless, but I don't think Liv is meant to hold the title long for right now. I think it's because they're still trying to build like Raquel, and I think Roxanne is going to probably get shuffled off into the mid card for a little while. Um, so yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But I truthfully look forward to Stephanie versus Liv Saturday. I do personally wish it was a night two, but given to their title and I'm a big prestige guy here when it comes to WWE, when it comes to title, and I'm like, nah, the WWE Championship is equally, it's like way more prestigious than the World Heavyweight title. Even if the feud is more, it's better. The WWE title on both sides is just more prestigious than these new ones. Um, but that's just me. Um, Going on into the next match. The Irresistible Forces, Nia Jackson Lash Legend versus Charlotte Flair, Alexa Bliss versus Bailey and Lyra Valkyria and the Bella Twins. It's a possibility that the Bella Twins might not make it to Mania because Nikki is injured. Hopefully, speedy recovery to her. Uh, this, I've heard a lot of mixed opinions. Let me get some water. I'm sorry, y'all. I've heard a lot of mixed opinions on this match. A lot of people wanted it to be a women's TLC match. I don't feel like we've had a women's TLC match before. At least I don't think so. I gotta look into that. Have we? I feel like Charlotte and Sasha probably had one, but I don't remember. But anywho, um, I know a lot of people wanted this to be like a TLC match, and it would have been nice. But at the same time, it's just like I don't think they're willing to risk any further injury at this point. which is why I feel like this is just a straightforward fatal four way tag match. Only thing I hope is that it doesn't have that stupid rule where you could tag anybody in. I hate that rule. Uh, I want four women in the match starting it, and they just tag frequently in and out. But the irresistible forces of Nia Jax and Lash Legend. I think this is a good tag team, a very good dominant tag team. Uh, and the see Lash Legend, for those who don't know, was the standout of the Royal Rumble. Well, she was one of the standouts of the Royal Rumble. Uh, and I'm really loving how she has been coming into her own and the chemistry of her and Nia Jax. And I feel like Nia Jax she has a lot of good chemistry with a lot of people. Uh, so to see this team flow is a very good thing, and seeing them as champions is very interesting. Lash Legend is going to be a future champion, going anywhere in WWE. She's going to be a future champion. I don't really have much to say too much about that team as a whole. I do not see them walking out of Mania with the titles personally. Um, Now going over to Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss is one of my all-time favorites. I do want her to go back to the goddess persona or join the Wyatt Six to like lead that team. Um, but yeah, to harp on that real quick. I think Alexa Bliss did a lot for Charlotte Flair this year. I think it was they started teaming last year. Uh, because when Charlotte came back last year, and Charlotte should not have won the Royal Rumble last year. I That was just not a good call. I get it. You wanted to give her something because she's been gone for so long, and she's Charlotte Flair. But I don't think Charlotte Flair was the correct choice for Mania last year. But again, that was last year. It happened, and her and Tiffany had. I didn't hate her and Tiffany's match, and I'm happy that Tiffany was put over in last year's WrestleMania over Charlotte. Uh, so yeah, but when Charlotte and Alexa teamed up, it was like one of the best women tag teams because you didn't know you needed it, and it makes you want to root for Charlotte again. Because like Charlotte, for me, when Charlotte first came to the main roster, I wasn't a fan because I think she was over pushed to the moon, and it was because of her last name. And it was just like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying she doesn't put in the work, but it was just like Charlotte's in the main event, Charlotte's in the main event, Charlotte's in the main event. And it's like certain people you get tired of, and for me, Charlotte was one of those people. I just got so tired of seeing. So when Becky blew up, because I was always a Becky Lynch fan, I was over the moon excited. Uh, and now Becky is a bigger star than Charlotte is, and I'm loving it. And but the one thing with Charlotte, you could tell at some point in her career, she wasn't having fun anymore. But since she started teaming with Alexa, she's having fun. You see them having these quirky segments behind the scenes, and it's been outstanding. Um, so I'm happy that they're having fun, but I do say, given to the state of the women's division in SmackDown, and SmackDown is not building the women's division properly, in my opinion. They need to go back being single stars, and I just hope we can keep this energy of Charlotte being fun again as a singles competitor because we do need her in that main title card. And I would love to see Alexa again in the main title card, but it looks like they're allowing it to, brush her past and just put her in the mid card. So I do think both women are most viable people that could be in the main card situation, but they're only going to put Charlotte there, and Alexa's going to go in the mid card title, which, again, as long as I see them both hold some form of singles competitive title in the future, I'm okay. So but I equally do not see them winning the titles back either. Even though they were a fun tag team, I don't see them winning those titles back. Um, I just hope we don't get a. I don't want to see them turn on each other. I'm not for that. I want to see a happy split, and just like, all right, we lost, and Charlotte moves over into like another feud, and so does Alexa. I would just prefer to see that versus them turn on each other and seeing that. Now, I'm not saying they can't put on a great I can't say that I can't see them putting on a great match between each other. I'm just like I would much rather see them, mutually split. Um, Now the team who I am okay with attacking each other at the end of this is Bailey versus Lyra, and those honestly are equally my favorites to win this. Um, Bailey versus Lyra is an interesting thing, and I think I don't see Bailey turning heel because we've done that, been there, done that. I think they're going to do Lyra turning heel because I don't think we've been there, done that. Uh, and it's one of those things where I think they want to see Lyra. They WWE clearly wants to push Lyra. It's just one of those things of like, how do we get her ready? Because Lyra at times feels comes off ready, and then at times she doesn't come off ready at all. Um, but I'm glad she's in a match with Bailey, who was her intended tag partner last year, but she got attacked by Becky Lynch, and basically they took Bailey out of Mania to put Becky, the bigger star, which is Becky Lynch, in it. And then immediately after, Becky turns on Lyra and went heel. So I feel like this is an opportunity for them to rinse and repeat that with Lyra and try to start pushing Lyra into a feud with Stephanie for like the main title. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, Lyra and Bailey are my favorites to win this four-way tag match. Um, and that's pretty much all I gotta say to that. I do want more for Bailey because I feel like WWE a lot of the time passes Bailey by, and I really want them to do better by Bailey because like Bailey, this is just me. Bailey with the tag titles without Sasha Banks just does not feel right. I prefer seeing those two as champions. So, and there's a huge rumor that after Bailey's contract ends, she's going to AEW, and I don't want to see her go. I would much rather see Sasha return to WWE. But if Bailey moves on, I'm going to still follow where Bailey goes, and I hope it is the AEW if she does decide to move on. It's just to see her and Sasha work together again. I will definitely be all for that. Uh, but yeah, like I said, Bailey and Lyra are my favorites to win this. Going on to the Bella Twins, the original women's tag team. Uh, I don't see them winning this match, but I do see them getting the women's tag team titles this year. No, and the women's tag titles, Jesus Christ. That division, it has its ups and downs. I'm gonna say this first and foremost. I know a lot of people want those titles abolished. I don't. I think we should have been had women's tag titles. The same way we should have had women's intercontinental titles. The same way we should have had women's United States titles. They should have always existed. Now, the women's division, we need to go back having cohesive women tag teams. And that means WWE will have to bring on more talent to have this be a thing. Because again, when I think of cohesive women tag teams, I do think Bella Twins. I think Iconics. I think Bailey and Sasha, who are also single competitors. But, you know, those are your three primary tag teams, in my opinion, for the women. And we need to grow and build more of those in the future for these titles to thrive. And it's just like WWE is just like throwing teams together just to see what works, and that doesn't work. They need to not do that. It doesn't work well. Um, Even though we know Charlotte Flair and Alexa worked well, Charlotte Flair and Alexa we also equally knew would eventually split. And it's the same thing with Sasha and Bailey, but at least with Sasha and Bailey, it's like the fans feel the chemistry. It's one of those things like, no, we know they're going to separate, but we also know they'll give their everything to those tag titles, and that's what needs to happen in the future of these women's tag titles. So this is why when the Bella Twins get it, I want the Bella Twins to hold it for a good minute. I'm not going to lie. Until we get another actual women's tag team. And I don't want the women's tag division to fall to the wayside. I really want WWE to try to build this women's tag team division because it does look non-existent right now. But there is a possibility that the Bella Twins won't even be at Mania because again, Nikki is injured. She injured her ankle in a match. Like I want to say probably at the beginning of the month or at the end of last month, and she's been rehabbing. And if she's not in the match, if she's not cleared to for Mania, the Kabuki Warriors will be taking her spot, and they will be in the match. But here's the problem with that: if the Kabuki Warriors are in, Io Sky is out of WrestleMania. And even though I was kind of tired of seeing Io Sky kind of pushed somewhat, I can't. Well, I'm not tired of Io Sky being pushed. I'm tired of Io Sky being in the world title picture. I was like, I'm ready to see her have matches, not being a title picture, you know? So, and I don't think she should be excluded from Mania at all. I do want to see Io Sky versus Asuka at Mania. So I really hope Nikki can make it. But if she doesn't, it looks like Io Sky is going to be out. But even if, you know, Io Sky is out, they're going to find a way to incorporate her. Like, I see her interfering in this match and attacking Asuka and calling it a day. So they will lose the title, and this is what will build into the feud, a backlash for Asuka versus Io, and then that will inevitably build into Kairi versus Asuka in the future. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. I really don't have too much, even though I know I said a lot on this match. But yeah. Now the next match. Again, y'all don't play with crutches. Seth Rollins is cleared, and he has his match against Gunther. I do believe there was another intended match for Gunther, and it was probably going to be Rey Mysterio. But when things fell flat because Gunther's had a hell of a year. I know people are mad at Gunther because he retired John Cena, he retired AJ Styles. Gunther's had a hell of a year. That being said, Gunther was a last minute play to put against Seth Rollins because it was like we weren't going to go Lesnar because Obafemi versus Lesnar is money. It's just money. And I believe Lesnar is retiring this year. So, you know, we have this storyline with Gunther attacking Rollins because Rollins has been feuding with Paul Heyman for the Vision turning on him. I don't see Seth Rollins winning this match. I do think it's going to be due to interference. I think Braun Breaker is going to interfere, spear the crap out of Seth Rollins, and Gunther's going to put Rollins to sleep. And then we're going to build into the feud more into Breaker versus Rollins. And Gunther giving to he told Paul Heyman he owes him a favor. The favor is he wants to retire Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. And I do think Gunther will retire Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam to like make Gunther an even more credible threat. So I do see that happening. So yeah, there's not really much to say because this hasn't been a feud that's been built. It's just randomly thrown together, and I think this will be a 5-star match because Gunther and Rollins can both put on a show. I mean, if you can make Pat McAfee have a good match, then you know Gunther can put on matches. We've seen him. Like I have nothing. This is just going to be a great match, and I look forward to it. But Seth Rollins is not winning. He's not going to walk in and win. Last match of night 1 is Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton with Pat McAfee. Stipulation has actually been added to this. If Orton loses, McAfee has to leave professional wrestling's business for good. I don't like this feud. And it's not that these two can't put on a match, because I'm a fan of both Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton. One, again, I'm a fan of prestige when it comes to this title. I love the WWE title. The fact that it's on night 1 is weird. But their feud is not as good as CM Punk and Roman. It's just not. This feud is basically Cody Rhodes, who's WWE, and Randy Orton, who's TKO / Pat McAfee. And this is how they're gonna incorporate the storyline. It's almost like if y'all remember the whole WWE versus ECW versus WCW, they're kind of sort of redoing that to a degree, but on a very smaller scale. It seems like right now, uh, and because of Cody Rhodes's, and don't get me wrong, CM Punk versus Roman's match is also WWE versus TKO, but it's just more entertaining. But this feud, Randy has technically been Cody's mentor. If y'all remember the old days when they were in Legacy and all that stuff, and now Cody is the guy, and Randy's shooting for number 15. Um, in my humble opinion, Cody should win because we're rinsing, repeating last year. And it's not, and I don't mean WWE versus TKO. I mean, hey, Cody had a friend turns on Cody, Cody loses title. And if you don't know what I mean by that, last year it was like, hey, Cody and it was Cody and John Cena. John Cena turned heel and, ultimately beat Cody at Mania for the title and became the never seen 17. And now we're doing it again so Randy Orton can get number 15. They're repeating the same storyline because, and again, John Cena had The Rock and Travis Scott, which, as we know, that storyline fell through. And Randy Orton has Pat McAfee. Now, this could build into something bigger in the future where it's just like, because for those who don't know, The Rock is on the board of TKO, supporting WWE and all that other stuff. And yeah, it's like basically Bloodline all over again. Where The Rock always told Cody Rhodes he's coming back for him, because Cody and The Rock are still in this massive feud. So it's like long storytelling, and it's just with this one, I everything seemed so shoehorned, and it was like we knew Randy was going to be the one. If it was Drew versus Randy, which we've seen 1,000 times before, and Randy was heel, Drew would have been the heel that's going, and Randy would have been face. But people have been asking for Randy to go back heel because if you have not seen 2009 Randy Orton, that man was a menace. That man was a problem. Like that dude did everything under the sun to people, and they're trying to recreate that. And I don't feel like we're getting 2009 Randy Orton, but we are getting a menacing Randy Orton. Randy Orton as a heel has always been a great thing in WWE because it's just like you're always wondering what is this man going to do next. But I equally also feel like one Randy Orton being talking to with Pat McAfee, and this just means Kevin Owens wasn't ready because I honestly feel like Kevin Owens would probably been the better choice because Kevin Owens and Randy Orton were supposed to be in a feud last year, and I looked forward to that one. And now it's like that feud has passed us by. The punt versus the power driver. And if it had it been, maybe KO on the other side of that phone when Randy was first talking, it would have been like a storyline kind of coming full circle. And it kind of seems like they missed the mark on that because they wanted to do, WWE takes real life situations and makes the storylines all the time. And it was just like, we're talking about on TV now, lower the ticket prices, lower this, and Pat McAfee is basically saying, "Oh, you poories can't afford TKO tickets. Well, I'm gonna drop the tickets down to 25% off, so y'all can because WWE can't sell WrestleMania tickets because people can't afford to go because you got to still, you got to pay for the plane ticket, you got to get a hotel, it's 2 nights now, so it's just like it's a lot. So WWE has made this into a political thing. They've made this into because if you don't know, CM Punk called Pat McAfee. And for those who know what that means, you know what it means. I'm not a political channel, so I'm not going to get into any of that jazz. But yeah, politics is getting involved into this match. All the jazz. And they're trying to just sporadically make this feud something big. Now, do I think this can be a really good match? I do. Do I care for the storyline of the feud? I don't. I do not think Randy should win this match. I do think Randy will get number 15. Hell, I think Randy's going to get number 16. By no stretch of the imagination should he get 17. I don't think anybody should get 17 in the next 10 years. And that's just me. I feel like never seen 17 needs to be a thing that is just a staple for right now. Because, like, Ric Flair had 16, and we were always waiting for, and we know Ric Flair technically has more, but in WWE status, he has 16. And we've always wanted somebody to top the record, and John Cena topped it. To undo it now, and we know we have like one person who's close within Randy Orton, it kind of just, in my opinion, defeats the purpose. But, you know, Randy is the closest to doing it. I do see Randy Orton getting 2 more world title reigns, and I don't think they're going to be long ones at all. But, yeah. 1 second, my computer's dying. All right, I'm back. So yeah, going back off this Randy Orton Cody Rhodes thing. Um, yeah, I just don't think Randy should win. Now, do I? Will he win? Most likely, because the stipulation. Whenever they say, "Hey, this person can't come back," normally they kind of, sort of, 9 times out of 10 win. And because they're also already gearing up Pat and Randy versus Cody and Jelly Roll at Backlash, I'm like, okay, so it looks like Randy's going to get the title, and yeah. Uh, so we'll see. But equally, I also understand how people are over the Cody Rhodes championship run because some of the runs have been stale. I will admit. Some feuds I've enjoyed, and some feuds I have not. I have not really enjoyed his this run of feuds. Um, but you know, and this is Cody's third reign currently because he just got the title back from Drew. Um, I haven't really been feeling his feuds as of late, but I'm not saying that he hasn't put on great matches. It's just I haven't been feeling the feuds. So hopefully after this Randy Orton feud, we can get some better feuds for Cody in the future. I really want to see Cody versus Oba again because that was a fun match at Saturday main event. Sadly, it got ruined by Drew, but you know they were not about to let both those people lose. So I do want to see a continuation of that match in the future. So we'll see. But yeah, that is the night one card for WrestleMania. Um, yeah, let's move on to night two. So night two, and also again, first hour is free on Peacock. I mean Peacock on ESPN. First match, which I have a feeling, I really do have a feeling they're going to move this match and make it later in the card. But the first match is Oba versus Brock Lesnar. Y'all, this damn near is probably the most. This is practically the match that I think everybody's just like, screw everything else. This is the match everybody wants to see. Right now, Oba is the guy. That's just what it is. Oba is the new beast incarnate. He is the ruler. um, Oba Oba versus Lesnar is going to be a phenomenal match. Hopefully they don't do what they normally do. It's like, hey, it's 2 big guys, 5 minutes only. It's like, nah, they need to let these guys go in. We need to almost get a level of Taker versus Lesnar and just go. Brock Lesnar should not win. Oba needs to go over 100%. Like Oba, since challenging Lesnar, he's just beaten Lesnar at everything. Lesnar has not gotten the upper hand in this feud at all. Now Monday is coming. Is today. We don't know what's going to happen tonight on Monday Night Raw because again, I am filming this currently, and it is currently 1:26 in the morning. We don't know what is going to happen on tonight's Raw, but yeah, I don't still see Brock Lesnar getting the upper hand on Oba Femi. I just don't see it. And I don't think he should. I think Lesnar needs to lose clean to Oba Femi. And I think after this, Lesnar needs to just move on, and then he goes in his match with Gunther, and Gunther retires him. Lesnar is. I feel like Lesnar is just ready to go, and this is just like his last hurrah, and he's putting younger talent over. And I think Obafemi is just like the new guy that's like the new dominant force. And the benefit with Obafemi is we know Obafemi is not unbeatable. It's just it's going to take a lot to beat him. Um, so I am looking forward to this Obafemi versus Brock Lesnar match. I can't even say outside of just looking forward to it because it's been so entertaining. I really look forward to it. Um, now the next match that is free on ESPN is a ladder match, a six-pack ladder match. Penta versus Javon Evans versus Dragon Lee versus JD McDonough versus Rusev versus Rey Mysterio. Y'all, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think this match is gonna be good. Because you got a lot of high flyers here, and with the exception of Rusev, you got a lot of high flyers here. Uh, I on it. My favorite to win this match is JD McDonough, and if it's not JD McDonough, then Penta retains. Um, I think JD will ultimately win because I think after we get Finn versus Dom, we move on into like the next part of the Finn Balor versus Judgment Day feud and dismantling them. And I think it will ultimately end in Finn getting the Intercontinental title. Um, so that's the reason why I think JD will win this. And if he doesn't, I think Penta will probably hold it for probably like another 2 month or so, or probably lose it at SummerSlam. Well, I think by that time Finn will probably be going for the title by then, and have I think Finn will win the title of SummerSlam. So yeah, I don't see Penta going into SummerSlam as champion. Uh, yeah, again, this is just one of those matches for the Intercontinental title that I'm like, this is going to be a good match. It's going to be a very high flying. I look forward to Javon Evans hitting a cutter on somebody in midair onto a ladder, and I'm like, I'm going to be like holding my chest the entire time. Whether the person's okay, but I'm like, yo, they're going to be doing some things. Um, so this is just going to be a very good match. I don't know what else to say on this. Uh, Jay Cargill, the next match, Jay Cargill versus Rhea Ripley for the Women's WWE Championship. I do think this championship is on the right night. This feud has just been horrible. And it's not Jade's fault. It's not Rhea's fault. I blame, truthfully, WWE for this. Um, so I'm gonna harp on Jade Cargill real quick. Jade Cargill, in my opinion, should have started in NXT, but they quickly moved her to the main roster. Um, and they paired her with Bianca to help get her ready, and her and Bianca were a great team in my opinion. But at the same time, we knew Jade was always going to be a future champion. That being said, so Jade beat Tiffany for the title at the Saturday main event in dominant fashion. She squashed her, and we had Jade versus Tiffany like so many different times, and Tiffany would always win. So we already know Tiffany can beat Jade. It took Tiffany to be injured and Jade, finally squashing her to get it and turning heel at that. Normally, and that's how it goes. And now we're moving into the next feud. And the original feud was supposed to be Bianca versus Jade, but Bianca's injured. Speedy recovery for her. Um, so we had to go to like the next thing. And I know WWE didn't want to repeat Charlotte again because it was just like, all right, we did Charlotte in the main event last year. Do we really want to do that again? And one of the biggest issues with this, and like so, that made Rhea the best choice. Now, this being said, one of the biggest issues with Jade's reign, Jade held that title for what 3 months before she properly defended it, and Jordan Grace was like her first challenge, and it was just like, here's my problem with Jordan Grace being in that title picture already, and I do think Jordan Grace was a credible threat for that title. It was just at this point in time, it was just like y'all are not building Jordan Grace enough to make her feel like she's a credible threat because I feel like every title match we've seen Jordan Grace in, she loses. So it's just like you've already killed her stock in winning a title, so nobody bought it. The other person who is not even on the card, which is a daggone shame, is Julia. I do feel like WWE is failing Julia. Even though she's United States champion, the United States Women's Champion has yet to be on a Mania card. Um, so, and it's like you can't overhype Julia coming into NXT, and they did the same with Stephanie. Stephanie is clearly the bigger star, but it's just like Julia is equally as good, and they're not building Julia. And I honestly would have thought Julia would have been a credible threat to Jade Cargill. All you got to do is build the story and allow it to look like a credible threat, and they're not doing that with these women on SmackDown. Hence is why they brought Rhea over there because people love Rhea. Uh, but because they did what they did with Jade, and it's just like it at this point, it's time to take the title off Jade. Now, I'm not saying Jade shouldn't get the title again. Jade is going to 100% get that title again. And I think we need to build Jade. Like, Jade is already built as a dominant threat. The problem is what WWE should have did, and I know I'm rambling here, what they should have done with Jade's reign, instead of having her backstage bullying all the women, we should have gotten, like, for example, who another person who WWE needs to really push is Mishin. We should have had Mishin going against Jade Cargill in a singles match for the title. And you just try to build Mishin as like this person who could go for the title, but she loses. And that's okay. And ultimately, you just keep Mishin in the mid card title scene. But we know Mishin, but you still try to build Mishin as a viable person in WWE, not a lackey. And, in the same with BFAB, it's just like BFAB isn't ready, in my opinion, for a tag title. I mean, not for a tag title, I'm sorry, for a mid card title nor a main title. But you build these girls to make them feel like, hey, we're gonna fight you, we're gonna do like if you can do all this with Maxine Dupree, you could do this with BFAB. You could do this with Mishin. You can do those things because again, I feel like Maxine Dupree is a mid carder and she has held the Intercontinental title. And it was fun. So do that with Misha and do that with BFAB. Like you did it with Chelsea Green, and I think Chelsea Green should be in the main title card picture. And but Chelsea Green, she's a workhorse, and I appreciate that she's willing just to work. She's happy to be there, and that's a great thing. But I do want them to push Chelsea Green to the moon. Hell, I want Chelsea Green. I know I keep saying I want certain people on Raw. I want Chelsea Green on Raw because I feel like we could just do so much with Chelsea Green on Raw. But we right now about to do this pairing of Tiffany Stratton and Chelsea Green, so we'll see what happens with that. But yeah. Anywho, yeah, they just did not do a good job in building Jade Cargill or the woman around Jade Cargill. And they just ended up just pairing them with Cargill as a stable more than anything. And so we're putting her with Rhea, and I'm like, no, Rhea's going to beat Jade Cargill in the end of the day and hold and have that title. And then we're going to start getting more interesting feuds for Rhea, I think, but not with Jade. Because I think Jade might disappear for a little while after this and be like, okay, I'm done, and I'll come back and win it off Rhea. And then we're going to have a proper uh, then we're gonna have like this proper title run for Jade. Um, and I think ultimately Jade will probably hold it again to Mania, and Bianca by that time, hopefully and prayerfully, will be back, and Bianca will beat Jade for the title. Um, but yeah, that's the biggest. I think Rhea was the best and safest choice to put against Jade because it pairs great with her dominance, and both of them are super dominant in WWE, highly popular, and and that's all. This feud has not been interesting. I'm not going to hold you. Now, the next match. I'm not going to lie. This is the one feud that it has passed me by. When I mean by that, it's like I haven't really been paying attention to it. And that match is Sami Zayn versus Trick Williams. If you were to ask me, and don't get me wrong, I know Trick Williams was like one of the considered big three of NXT of like the last 2, 3 years. It was him, Obafemi, and Javon Evans. And the fact that Trick is in Mania and has a title match already is amazing. I don't see Sami Zayn winning this match because I think Trick needs it more. Uh, Now the question is, the rumor is we're getting a double heel turn here. Will that happen? Like we turn, because I would love to see. Okay, I'm gonna say this first and foremost. I am not a fan of Carmelo Hayes. He's overrated for me, and that's just me. I know a lot of people gonna clutch their pearls. He has he has given me 5-star matches. I won't lie on the man now. He has put on some 5-star matches. It's just like the matches I have seen. He's had lesser 5-star matches that has had me at all than the ones that has had me at all. If that makes sense to everybody. So, but I do think Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes is a good pairing, and I would love to see those two paired up again. And I would even like to see those two have a feud with each other for the United States title. I think that would be very fun. Um, because I do think Sami Zayn should be in the main title picture at this point, and WWE needs to stop dangling that carrot and just, again, if you can put the title on Jey Uso, you can put it on Sami Zayn. It's not hard. Try it out, see how it works. And that's something I feel like WWE is just very scared to do. Um, but yeah, I think Trick Williams goes over on this one. I think he wins. It kind of hinted that they kind of spoiled it that Trick might win, but we'll see. Um, the next match, one of my favorites, and I'm looking forward to this match, even though I don't think it's going to be a long match. I think this might be a squash match. I'm not going to lie to y'all. Sorry. The next match, the Demon Finn Balor has returned versus Dirty Dominic Mysterio. Um, okay. For those who don't know, I am a big Finn Balor fan. I've loved his NXT career. I went back to watch his New Japan career, and I'm just a fan. And WWE keeps failing Finn Balor every step of the way. Finn Balor should have been at least a 4-time champion by now. And they have not done that, and it's hurtful. One injury has set him back, and they just lost faith in him. So to see them try to rebuild him has been amazing. He's been kicked out the Judgment Day. He's back on his singles run, and we get the Demon back, which Vince McMahon killed because we. Okay, I'm gonna harp on this real fast. The first L for the Demon for in like the main roster card for Finn was Roman Reigns, and it was just like, yeah, we weren't going to get Finn beating Roman, even though it's been 1,000 times in the Bloodline reign where I feel like Roman could have just lost and it would have been okay. Finn Balor was one of those where I was like, Roman could have just lost, and I felt like things still would have been okay because it wasn't like Finn had to hold the title super long. He just had to hold it for like 2 months, and Roman got it back. Uh, but it's like, yeah, they will not give Finn a title reign to save his life because all us fans want to see Finn is hold the world title more than a day, more than a week. Let him hold it for at least 2 pay-per-views, and we'll be happy. But it seems like they just don't want him to do that, and it's just like it's not fair. Um, but the fact that this feud is what it is, and I do personally wish it was for the Intercontinental title, so Finn will have like a secondary title, which means he's the second guy of Raw. Uh, but to see Finn versus Dom, the Demon Finn is back. I'm excited. Um, Dom is another person who has. If you were to ask me when Dom first debuted, should Dom be in a match on Mania against Finn Balor, I would have told you hell no. I would have told you put that boy in NXT. I think again because of who his dad was, that's the only reason he's on the main roster. But one of the things with Dom's character that I cannot only not praise Dom but praise WWE for how they handled it. When he joined Judgment Day was the best thing for Dom. It was 100% the best thing for him, and the man has blossomed, and all the flowers to him because I'm like, yo, no, he has put in the work, he's done everything, and I'm like, he's one of my favorites to watch because I'm like, yo, he's over, and I appreciate how over Dom Mysterio is. Um, But I think when you're going against the Demon Finn Balor, that's a different breed. I feel like Dom is not ready for this type of match, and they should build the Demon properly again. It's like the Demon should be something that the Judgment Day just fears and hope that it never comes out again. So when Dom loses, I think we should have one more match between at Backlash. We should have another Dom versus Finn match where it's not the Demon, but it's Finn versus Dom, and Finn beats Dom again, and we just don't get Dom versus Finn again, and then we move into the JD McDonough Finn Balor feud. Uh, but yeah, I look forward to this match because I want to see the Demon Finn Balor. So yeah. Uh, Last but not least, well, last match it is the least. All right, CM Punk versus Roman Reigns. My God, this has been such a good feud because at one point in time, if you go back to War Games, we honestly thought it was going to be Roman versus Cody Part 3. And I do think Roman versus Cody Part 3 is going to happen in the future. But Roman versus CM Punk it's literally everything we didn't know we wanted. Because it was like we know we got CM Punk's feud with the Shield Boys has been great. And it's like it has this feud has everything. It has personal issues. It has it has ramifications of their personal lives, what they think about what this person has done in the future, past, present, or whatever. Um, it is another WWE versus TKO match where CM Punk is WWE and Roman Reigns is TKO. Um, and honestly, if you just go back and watch the last few Raws, these two just going in on each other has been great. Now there is like a part in the middle where it kind of gets dry because either Roman's not there or they're just not saying anything. Like Roman calling CM Punk old and that triggered CM Punk was a little weak, but it was like all right. And then when we started getting like physicality in the promos and in the matches, and it's just like each of them got put through a table. I'm sure Roman is going to be at Raw tonight. We'll see what happens between these two. I'm sure they're going to get into a fight, and they're just going to get separated from each other this time. Classic WWE. But I do not see CM Punk winning. I see CM Punk losing this match. It's a possibility we get the Bloodline reunited at the end of this. I think CM Punk won't see the main title again for a while. I don't see him getting the main title again until probably sometime in the latter part of next year. Um, and that also being said, I don't think Roman is going to hold this title long because what I think is going to happen, Roman is going to get the title off CM Punk. Roman is going to lose the said title to Obafemi at SummerSlam. And we're going to get a run of Obafemi as World Heavyweight Champion. Um, so, yeah, I just don't see. Yeah, I think Roman will get destroyed by, well, not destroyed, but I think we're going to get Roman versus Obafemi. And I don't think Oba's going to lose the title. I think Oba will lose the title to Braun Breaker. And I think that's how they're going to handle things. So yeah, we'll see. But yeah, this is going to be a good match, y'all. This is going to be a hard hitting match. It's like I look forward to this match. It's going to be fun. Now I wish it was a reverse on the titles where it was the World Heavyweight title with Cody and Randy, and it was the WWE title with CM Punk and Roman. Because again, I like prestige on my nights for wrestling. The WWE title has main evented night 2 for like the last few years. So it's what it is. That's just me. But yeah, I think this WrestleMania has a chance to. I think this WrestleMania has a chance to be really, really great. It even though we're racked with all these injuries, people can't go to the show. It's low key has a good card, and it's like, and for y'all who also don't know, John Cena is hosting it. So this, I feel like a lot of new feuds, even in between segments, will be born. A lot of ramifications afterwards will be interesting. Um, but yeah, I do think this is going to be a very, very good card going through. This could be a sleeper WrestleMania. Um, but that being said, again, I'll harp on it probably in another video about where I'll probably do this again. About not probably I will do this again on my feelings and thoughts on a card of wrestling of what I want to see more of. Like I can give you like a whole dissertation at this point of like what I want to see the women's wrestling go into because it's like I want it like even when we do a draft. Like for example, I'm gonna give you guys a quick draft. I want to see Finn Balor go to SmackDown because I think he'll do better on SmackDown. I think he has a better chance with that title because it looks like at least on SmackDown you're giving other talent a shot to somewhat go for that title. Where it was originally the world heavyweight title, and now it's like now that Roman and CM Punk are feuding, I feel like it's just bigger name, bigger name, bigger name, bigger name, bigger name, bigger name, and I feel like people will get lost in the shuffle now with that title. Whereas the WWE title now is just like, hey, we're about to start going. You look like an interesting thing to go, a person to go against the title. Let's do that, and I think Finn has a better shot there. Uh, so yeah, I do want to see. I want to see Gunther go to SmackDown as well. Uh, yeah, Gunther, Finn. Like I think they will be thrive on SmackDown. I think Rhea needs to stay on SmackDown. Chelsea should go to Raw. Rhea should stay on SmackDown. So should Io Sky is interesting. Io could go on anyone. I think she'll be fine regardless. But I think honestly, and this is just me, I think you need to put Julia and Stephanie on the same show. I would leave Stephanie and Julia. I would leave Stephanie on Raw, but I would move Julia over. Once Julia loses the United States title again, I would move her over to Raw and just start building Julia over there because I think Kiana James can handle herself at this point. Kiana James has shown out by herself, and I think we could do a lot more with Kiana as a single competitor. And I think we need to allow. But I understand why Kiana and Julia are together. But yeah, I think we need to start really building Julia as as a champion, and as a competitor because I don't feel like WWE is doing it. So yeah, I'll give my thoughts on that another day. This video has already gone over an hour. So yeah, that's just my thoughts on WWE and WrestleMania. Till next time, y'all.